Welcome to Ordo Militaris Radio TV, and today's program is on more about the Christian Party of America. But today we're not going to talk about the policies and platforms we're putting out. We are reaching back to some American history to show what we are proposing to do is not new. It was tried before. In 1874, by the Presbyterians, at the proceedings of the National Convention to secure the religious amendment of the Constitution of the United States, and was defeated by the Republican Party. And we welcome Brother Alexis to the show.
Welcome, AJ, and thank you for having me back on our programs for Christian Party America, the hope, salvation of America. Like I said the other day, when your country's going to hell in a Masonic handbasket, only a Christian party can save it. And if the Masonic Lodge has its parties, Christians can have their party. Isn't that right? I mean, we have freedom, don't we? We don't have to live. We don't have to live a Masonic plantation. So God bless the Presbyterians in the 1870s. This is something you never read about in your high school American history class. I never even heard about until the yesterday, and my eyes are popping out of my head how Catholic these people were in the 1870s. We're going to read some of the interventions from their national convention, and then we'll discuss why they failed.
Yep. So this is, let's see here, from the evening session, and this is, from the evening session from Dr. Hodge, professor of theology in the Western Seminary. This guy's a professor in the Presbyterian Seminary, and listen to the wordage. And he's going to say what we propose is widely Catholic. So get ready, folks. Although my instincts and convictions have always been thoroughly in sympathy with this movement, yet, as I am not experienced in exact analysis and the close study of the several departments of the general question, I shall not attempt the detailed discussion of any one topic, but only a general statement of what I understand to be the state of the controversy and the reason for the demands we make. There are three great parties to this debate. First, the constantly growing band of Christian men who believe that this work is the duty of the hour in which salvation of the country is involved. Second, the company of intelligent infidels who conscientiously disbelieve our principles and their natural allies, the licentiousness and the tremors for place. Third, the entire mass of our fellow Christians, the overwhelming majority of the nation, who really agree with us in our principles, but who are as yet imperfectly informed as to our ends, our methods, or our necessity for or feasibleness of our enterprise. With the second class, we can have no compromises. We must either convince or defeat them by sheer force. With the third class, we can have no controversy. Mutual explanations must remove all misconceptions and lead to cordial cooperation. The end we propose is the wildest sense Catholic and not sectarian. It is simply the recognition within the legitimate spirit of the national government and the general truth of theism in Christianity. These are fundamental to the creed and traditional institutions of all Roman Catholics alike, Galatians, Ultramontane, and of all German Lutherans and French Huguenots and Anglican churchmen, high, broad, and low, of English and American Puritans, Scotch Covenanters. This movement ought to provoke no controversy. In the end, it will occasion no division except between theist and atheist, Christian and infidel. The point we want to recognize in the Constitution is not a dogma of the churches, nor a theory of the schools, but a simple fact everywhere operating and universally recognized by believers. Jesus Christ is in fact ruler among the nations, providentially guiding their affairs and determining their destinies, morally by revelation of truth and duty, the exhibition of motives, and stimulus and discipline of providentially arranged circumstances. If this be a matter of fact generally believed, should not a great self-governing community like this nation, conscious of its acts and of their character, make a distinct profession of its allegiance? That was his opening statement.
That's absolutely unbelievable. And let me put a point on it. What is this convention about? They wanted to add to the U.S. Constitution the phrase that Jesus Christ is our King and sovereign Lord, okay? It was like a one-liner. And they held national conventions about this. And what this Presbyterian said in the 1870s, every Catholic would totally agree with. Okay, and it's unbelievable that he would even show absolutely no religious prejudice against Catholics in the 1870s, when there was a lot of prejudice against Catholics. And in parts of the United States in the 1870s, the Know Nothing Party, which was Masonic, was beating up Catholics in the street. You couldn't even wear your habit. And so this is a wonderful statement, and we're going to read some more that sounds so close to what we're proposing, you would almost think we wrote them, but we didn't. This is from 1870. This is 150 years ago.
Yeah. Now, folks, to remember, while you're shocked, this is a Presbyterian seminary professor.
Yeah, I have to say this: the Presbyterians are known for their erudition, okay, and their scholarship. That's one thing that they are known for.
Yeah. Okay, he continues. The practical recognition of this fact is no new thing in American history. It has formed a prominent characteristic of our successive governments, colonial, state, and national, from the beginning. We propose the adoption of no new principles and no radical change of customs. We propose only to recognize as a fundamental principle in the national written constitution that which has been universally recognized principle of national life from the first. We aim not at change, but at conservation. We want to preserve through all the coming time and consistently carry out in all departments of law the hitherto universally admitted fact that Christianity is an element in the common law of the land. In the very various ways has this great principle been confessed by our nation from the beginning. This is plain in all the history of the mother country, whose common law we have inherited, in the institutions and innumerable formal acts of all the original colonies, and all the laws of the states and national governments, with respect to blasphemy, oaths, the Sabbath, marriage, divorce, etc. In the appointment of Christian chaplains for the Army and Navy and for the Congress, and by their daily appeals to God in the presence and with the assent of the officers of the government in their official character. In the distinct assertion of these principles in the inaugural address of our presidents, in their official appointment of days of public thanksgiving and fasting, and above all, the entire system of education in this country for the first 200 years of its history. which was the creation of earnest Christians for the promotion of Christian objects. In all these schools and academies, Christianity was recognized by devotional exercises, by specific instruction, and was largely embodied in dictionaries, geographies, histories, works of general science, and literature. Our present rapidly expanding system of national education has grown out of this early and long-established system. We retain the textbooks and educational literature, the fruit of the Christianity of a past age, and we retain also the Christian traditions of Bible reading, etc. The great debate which divides Catholics and Protestants on this subject relates not at all to the place of Christianity in school, but rather to the form, the quality, the quantity of Christianity to be taught. The one party demands for the children full denominational instruction, the other party being satisfied with us with the recognition of Christ as the supreme ruler through his providence and his supreme teacher through his word. On the contrary, it is our opponents who propose to change all of this. They propose to abolish the oath and the civil Sabbath and unjust discrimination against unbelievers. They propose to modify the law of marriage to do away with the sacredness of the family, the rights of men and their wives, the rights of the parents and their children. They propose to purge Christianity from our entire system of national education, from the textbooks of the schools and instruction of the teachers.
This is what they've done in the last 150 years. This is exactly what let me tell you, this minister was inspired by the Holy Spirit to warn the country. This is exactly what they've done.
Whew.
And who has done it?
Yeah.
The Skull and Bones Lodge, as we've mentioned in our previous shows on Ordo Militaris Radio TV. And it's exactly what we're saying, okay? That the distinction between the Christianity of the people and the form of government which the Masons have detached from the fact that they're Christian and tried to turn into a tool for suppressing Christianity and claiming that we have a secular form of government, and it's unbelievable. So do we have any other great things to share there? They're absolutely mind-blowing from this convention. And you know, they never taught you this convention ever took place.
Nope. He's going to now get even into even more mind-blowing stuff at the bottom of this page and into the next page. So let me continue. We desire to emphasize this fact with all our force. We are not innovators, but conservators of our race and nation. We want to establish no theological crotchet, nor to secure the ascendancy of any class of religious persons. We want simply to make part of the permanent written law what has always from the beginning formed an effective and universally acquiesced in part of the unwritten law. It is essential for our success that we make this understood. The mass of any people are not affected by abstract reasoning, but by appeal to their emotions or their interests. They are satisfied with the present, with which they are familiar, indisposed to attempt reforms, the entire consequences of which they are not able to anticipate. Naturally, and with a healthy instinct, they shrink from the suggestions of innovators, but respond quickly when they are summoned to assent to principles and defend institutions inherited from their fathers, the benefits of which they realize from experience. Observe first the explicit assertion of this principle in the written law can possibly invade no right of dissenting minority which they possess under historical conditions above explained. They can possess no rights which the unwritten constitution, and more traditions, and practical usages of our nation do not give them. Every nation and its institutions have necessarily a character historically determined, which is essential to its identity, and to which all succeeding generations are born, and to which all immigrants from abroad voluntarily accede. As the nation was formed by its English descent and inheritance, by colonial experience in its republican government, so has it been formed by its Christianity, and no man's liberty is invaded by accepting the historical social structure of the community into which he is born, or into which he voluntarily migrates. So no man's liberty is invaded by maintenance in every legal way by the nation of its fundamental religious character. If the Christian majority prevail in maintaining Christian institutions, the infidel minority will be just where they have always been, in the exact position in which they voluntarily accepted citizenship. And while they may be restrained from some self-indulgence, they can be constrained to no violation of their convictions. On the other hand, if the unbelieving minority prevail, the Christian majority will lose that precious heritage from their fathers, which they hold in trust for their children, and they will be outlawed. For when the law of man contradicts the law of God, the Christian has no alternative but to obey the law of God and disobey the law of man and take the consequences. There are two constitutions of this nation, the written and unwritten. Neither of these are arbitrary conventions or artificial constructions. These in every land and age are the result of a process of growth. They embody in the form of recognized law or the usage of great historically established facts of national character and condition. This is true of our written constitution. Afterwards, when the facts have been provincially changed, the written constitution has been amended to express these facts. With respect to the national religion, an important omission was made at first. That omission, of course, has altered none of the facts of the case, but under changed condition may bring them into question. We claim that since the religion of the nation and its government is, as a matter of fact, an ancient traditional right, there is the same propriety in announcing the fact in the fundamental law of the land that there is for formulating any other principle which gives character to the government. If it be thought desirable to insist in the bond on a republican form of government, it must be quite essential to provide that government, whatever it be its form, shall be obedient to the revealed will of God.
This man saw everything that was going to happen because now Christianity is basically outlawed. Our churches are shut down. They just fined a church in California $15,000 for opening and having services. Okay, and I think it was a Protestant congregation. This is exactly what's happened. That the political assertions that are totally medically unfounded in regard to a pandemic that doesn't exist are now considered by most politicians to have more importance not only than Christianity, but than the Constitution itself, because an unbelieving minority is now in control of the nation, and this nation needs to be taken back now by Christians. This is our duty before God. Otherwise, we will not have anything to leave children and grandchildren, okay? This is a holy crusade, and here we have a prophet like Jeremiah saying, if it's not done, the nation's going to be destroyed. And this is what's happened because unfortunately, this convention's proposal was defeated by very artful political maneuvers. And what is the name of the speaker again, so we can remember his name, AJ?
Yeah, let's see here. The president then introduced the Reverend Dr. A.A. Hodge, professor of theology in the Western Seminary, who is delivering the following address. So okay. Reverend Dr. A.A. Hodge.
A.A. Hodge. Definitely double A quality. Is there another speaker that you wanted to quote from this convention?
I've only read him.
Okay, so this entire PDF with all the acts of the convention is going to be available in the download of today's program show at Order Militaris Radio TV's website. So
Yeah.
you can download the whole thing and just read it. And you could play a game with people and say, who do you think wrote this? They're going to say, oh, well, obviously a Catholic wrote that. You know, obviously you wrote it just recently. No, this is 1870, and that's a Presbyterian professor of theology. Okay, so who really understood what was going on in the country of his day. And you never heard about this because it was defeated, and it was defeated by the Republican Party because they sought to start an amendment process, and it didn't get the votes in Congress to do that. And this is not a coincidence, okay? As we pointed out, the Freemasons have had a lot of influence and control. We know for certain that since 1960, the Freemasons have controlled the Republican presidential and vice presidential nominations. They have chosen them. You thought you chose them. No, you didn't. Skull and Bones chose them. But before that, it might have been even other Masonic lodges, or because we haven't traced back the system of control that far. But the reason why it failed strategically is that they organized a convention and they tried to convince Democrat and Republicans in Congress to support the amendment.
Mm-hmm.
And we're a bit better strategy because we're not going to try to convince Democrats and Republicans. We're fronting a Christian party that will have this objective, this exact same objective. Because you have to put it in law that Jesus Christ is king and all our laws come from him, just as a point of reference. Otherwise, you'll have psychotic justices on the Supreme Court say, oh, I'm reading, I was just reading the Constitution of the day, and I discovered you have the right to murder your child. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, we all discovered it. Yeah. And then in a few more years, yeah, you have a right to marry your dog. We found it in the Constitution. Because if you reject God, you don't know where you're headed or where you came from. You're ass backward, even if you're qualified to be on the Supreme Court. And this was a grave tactical error. They still had confidence that their politicians were Christians, but they failed to analyze whether the political parties themselves were controlled by anti-Christian forces. And they found out to their dismay that that was the case. And but God bless the Presbyterians, and Freemasonry never forgave them for that.
Yep.
Because guess which church was targeted for communist infiltration?
Presbyterians.
Yeah, we reported about that already. In the 1930s, they were targeted for infiltration to bend Christianity to the communist conception. And as we said, communism is just the left hand of the Masonic Lodge. So Freemasons are vicious, vindictive people. They never forgive and they never forget. And they went after that one Christian church that tried to dare outlaw them, because that's what would have happened if Christ is returned king. They'd be outlawed. So we'll just say it right in the fact. The Christian part of America won't outlaw the lodge. We're going to arrest them, confiscate their goods, and completely cut that cancer out of the country, because it has to be cut out if America lives. Either the American people live or the cancer of the lodge kills America.
Yep.
There's just no way about it. Okay. And as we said before, the Skull and Bones people should all be arrested, and all their assets of all their families need to be confiscated, because they're just an evil criminal organization, and they're the most evil criminal organization that has ever existed on the face of the earth. They are more evil than the Nazis, because they're the ones that built the Nazis up, supplied the Nazis, and then saved the Nazis. They're even more evil than the Nazis. So all that hatred you have against the Nazis or against the communists, you got to direct it to the source of it. It's Skull and Bones. It's the Masonic Lodge in general. That's who's behind it all. And that's why the history since 1717 in the world has been so dark and so diabolic. It's not just by chance, okay? And this is what you get when you dethrone Catholic monarchies, because Catholic monarchies suppress these sons of a bitches and get rid of them the way they deserve. Or St. Louis IX said he'd run his sword right through these bastards. And I'm using tough language because these people deserve every expletive that can ever be thought of. And you can't brook quarter with them. You can't brook quarter them. And how did we run across the fact that this convention even existed? I don't know how we got the tip on it. Someone tipped.
Yeah, it was a tweet. It was a tweet I put out after our first program, I, and it was something I saw that it was a tweet, I think, from a bishop or something, a Catholic bishop, saying a Catholic cannot vote for Democrats. And it's like, okay, that's partially true. No Catholic can vote for the Republican Party either. And I tagged all the big name Catholics. And I put, so you need to join the Catholic Party of America. And I tagged all the big names to get promotion out there. I got bad promotion. I got attacked.
Name the people you tag. It was a public conversation. It's no secret.
All right. Mike Church, Tim Gordon, Dave Gordon, Candace Church, Deacon Nick Donnelly, the followers, the people who listen to Mike Church, Ashley Durant, Matt Adams, Return the Tradition and Faith Media out of Kansas City. Let's see here. Then Mike Church added on Dr. Taylor Marshall and a few others that I couldn't see and they couldn't see me, so it really didn't have a much play right there, but probably one of their followers from sent over by Mike Church or Marshall to really be nasty.
Now, one of these interlocutors, one of these people in the conversation, is the one who shared a link to this document, right? What I think it was Mike Church. Wasn't he the one who shared? Okay, so Mike Church know about it. So thank you, Mike, for this link. And as far as I know, Mike Church doesn't advocate a Christian Party of America.
Nope.
No, so he did us a favor because he just gave us an entire arsenal of information from that book, and something we can use to recruit every Protestant in America to the Catholic Party. even the Presbyterian minister admits this proposal is Catholic in the sense, the widest sense of the word, which is the sense of the word. So so this is a great fact of history. But if why would the Republican Party defeat that proposal?
At the time, the 1874, so
we're in Reconstruction. So
and yeah, so
one of the other speakers in this conference, his opinion why the Republican part or their opposition is so strong, he says, recently there has come over from Europe individuals of a non-Christian worldview, secularist, godless people who are not of our race. Okay, I won't say, I'll say if I can't, it's that ethnic group you can't mention without being censored.
Oh, yeah.
But and that they're trying to convince us that our form of government is amenable to their mindset. And no, we're a Christian nation, and this has always been a Christian nation. We need to now say it Otherwise, they're going to take over our country and turn it into their kind of a nation. And that's basically happened. I mean, if you think of the scamdemic, it's completely Talmudic. It's all like, you're unclean, especially you Gentiles unclean, and you Christians singing, you're the most unclean possible that could possibly out there. I mean, you could have gay sex and that's not unclean, because we're totally in favor of that. But singing a hymn to Jesus Christ, that's totally unclean, and you can't ever be allowed to do that again. I mean, now what religion would say that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's pretty obvious what religion's behind the scamdemic. And if you look at the names, Skull and Bones, they claim they don't have Jewish members, but Rockefeller's, Gates, and all George Soros, they're all involved in this kind of thing. I'm not saying they're believing Jews, okay?
Yep.
I don't, because they even went after believing Jews in New York City. So, but they lost strategically because they tried to wage a war on the condition of winning allies among those who already controlled the country, rather waging a war where it makes common sense, build up your forces, found your party, win the control of the government, and then your people will pass the law, because members of your party, they'll certainly pass the law. And that would have been the way to go and go about it.
Yeah. So pretty much what we're going to be doing is what this professor is talking about. Restoring all of this back to how America should be.
Well, how any Christian nation is. So this is the distinction. If you're a Protestant, you're listening, what is Catholic conception of the political divisions? The state doesn't exist to teach doctrine, okay, or to execute the mission of the church. But the state exists to allow the church to execute its mission and to do everything that helps promote that, okay, kind of is by creating an environment for it. So a Christian nation, a Christian constitution, even a Catholic nation or Catholic constitution doesn't mean that you're required to become a Catholic or that you're required to become a Christian, okay? But it does mean that the laws of right and the definitions of right and wrong come from the Gospels, okay? It comes from divine revealed truth, which is the only basis, a stable basis for the meaning of law. We saw that in the big fight in Alabama with the Supreme Court justice that wanted the monument to the 10 Commandments left in the courthouse, and he fought against it. And he was viciously attacked by other members of the court and by the Democratic Party. But when it came for him to run for the Senate, he was even viciously attacked by the Republican Party. And a lot of people were shocked by that because they didn't know about the convention in 1877, was it? That was defeated by the Republicans. So the Republicans have been unchanging in their stance against revealed truth as the unchanging definition of law. So tell me they're conservative. Okay. The Republicans are great deceivers. They make conservative mean supporting them even though they're against the Christian tradition of the country. They make pro-life mean I speak against it and reduce the number of abortions that much, and I allow hundreds of millions to be killed around the world, but I'm pro-life. Don't you dare vote for a Christian that wants to eliminate abortion, because he'll lose to the Democrats and that will promote abortion and blood will be on your hands. You're not really pro-life unless you only want to reduce it a little bit. That's like saying, you know, vote for Stalin or vote for Hitler. Now, you were just in a dialogue with Father Pavone, who's supposed to be head of a pro-life organization. And didn't you say something about Hitler and Stalin to him, and how did he react?
Yeah, let me get to that.
It's very telling.
Okay, let me see here.
Here's an example of a Catholic priest who's dedicated himself to stopping abortion, but who has been ideologically converted over to the Republican Masonic doctrine. without even realizing it. And read what he says and show it is. And I'm not saying this to take down Father Pavone, but to hopefully help him and his followers snap out of the mind control the law just put them under.
Yeah. Okay. His first tweet. You know your political opposition has the moral sense of a first grader when they object to how the president talks, but don't object to his opponent's support of abortion. But maybe that's unfair. But first graders, that is, they know it's wrong to kill a baby. And I comment tweeted, over tweeted, and I put, it's wrong of his father to take a loan from those who helped fund the Nazi Party and helped kill millions in the Holocaust, and help those who took the grain from Ukraine to kill millions in the Holodomor genocide. Now, you didn't reply directly. And where do you go?
But a few moments later, he tweeted out a separate tweet,
Mm-hmm.
continuing the conversation.
And he tweets out this, in quotes, I can vote in good conscience for Hitler because the Holocaust is not the only issue.
I could, in good conscience, vote for Hitler.
Mm-hmm. And I overtweeted that again. Isn't that your position? And no response.
So let's analyze this. I could, in good conscience, vote for Hitler because the Holocaust isn't the only position. And he's saying that this is the advice people are giving to vote Democrat, okay? But let's look at now historically. Would any Nazi ever say, I'd vote for Hitler because the Holocaust isn't the only position? No, Nazis who were voting for Hitler would be totally in favor of the Holocaust. And none of them knew it was going, well, at least they say they didn't know it was going on. So that wouldn't be their position. The correct statement would be, I can in good conscience vote for Hitler because the war against Poland or something is not the only issue, okay? Because the Holocaust was, by the time the Holocaust was taking place, there was no votes for Hitler anymore, okay? It was, he had a dictatorship and there was no more votes. Or you could say, you know, his invasion of the Rhineland or something. So the statement was that Father Pavone is putting in quotes is a statement that has never existed in history. No one in Germany ever said that. But he's using the word Holocaust to mean the Holocaust of the unborn, okay? So let's change it a bit. I can vote for Biden because abortion is not the only issue, okay? I think that's what he's trying to say. But he says, I can vote for Hitler in good conscience. The problem is that the Catholics in Germany did vote for Hitler in good conscience at the instruction of Pius XII, who told them to dissolve their party in exchange for getting a concordant between the Hitler government and the Apostolic See, recognizing the right of religious liberty of Catholics in Germany. You know, because it's important to have Catholic Mass, even if your country is killing 40 million innocent people.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound like Christianity? That's not Christianity. That's why I don't think Pius XII will ever be canonized, and he definitely should not be canonized. His body should be dug up from the Vatican and shipped back to wherever he was born, you know, because that's that's totally immoral. And the Catholic Party that held a good third of the votes in the Reichstag dissolved and joined the Nazi Party. And so Father Pavone is confused historically, or he's upset. But the fact that he could write the words, I can vote in good conscience for Adolf Hitler because Holocaust is not the only issue, after you said what you said, is really what he's saying is, I can vote for Trump because the fact that his father took money from the people who promoted the Holocaust is not the only issue. See, that's the real meaning of the phrase. He took exactly what you said and he changed Trump to Hitler. And he kept the Holocaust right in there. So that's very telling because that is his position. You can vote for Trump even though his father got money from the people who promoted the Holodomor and the Holocaust. because because that's not the only issue. Now, I won't even mention the fact that Trump wants 100 million vaccines made so he can kill 100 million people in the United States, or at least allow 100 million people to be killed by Democrat governors or agents of Bill Gates, who just happens to be an ally of the same family of his father. So it's very telling how Father Pavones is now totally confused about who to vote for. But this is because he won't look outside of the box. For him, he's accepted the little frame the Masonic order has given him. You must vote Democrat or Republican. It's either Democrat or Republican. Don't look outside the box and vote the Christian Party of America or for a Christian party. Okay. Don't look out the box. You can't look out the box. That world doesn't exist anymore. You only have the world of hell that we give you. See, that's a Masonic trick. They want you to see only hell. There's no purgatory. There's no heaven. Even at Ginsburg's funeral, they sang, there is no heaven, okay? You know, because if you think there's only hell, then whatever you do will be hellish. And then you have all these people that are out of touch with reality saying Trump is the most pro-life president we've ever had. I thought the most pro-life president I ever had were the presidents who were against abortion at a time when there was no abortion. Wouldn't that be the most pro-life president? Because then your abortionists were put in jail.
Or killed.
Or killed, yeah. And I think every president before Roe versus Wade was pro-life. The most pro-life presidents we ever had. Because they all held it was a crime and they'd had the FBI enforce it if someone was doing that. Taking women across state bounds to give her an abortion, that would be a federal crime. Yeah, that'd be murder.
You could also say the Roman emperor, since it was a crime to do it. It was a murder sentence if you committed abortion.
Yeah, okay, so if we're going to talk about the most pro-life leader ever, we have to mention at least the Catholic kings and emperors. And why did people saying he's the most pro-life president ever? Okay, so he's not the most, and he's not even pro-life. So why are they even saying this? I guess they think it's a cute little phrase to get people to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, since there's a seat open up on the highest court in the land, the front runner, the leader of the pack, so-called Catholic with 7 kids, Amy Coney Barrett.
Amy Barrett, yes. So now all the talk is the appointment, and they're playing everyone's buttons, and everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid. Oh, he's going to appoint a Catholic to the Supreme Court. Let me first say, do you know there's already like 8 or 7 Catholics on the Supreme Court? Did you know that? The same court that said gay marriage is okay, and that the Catholic churches in California have to accept the lockdown and not have mass. Wasn't that wonderfully Catholic?
Yeah.
But here's the trick of the Masonic Lodge. They will always choose a traitor. A traitor to betray his country. Look at Hitler. Hitler destroyed Germany. What was Hitler's slogan?
Make Germany great again.
Okay, so Hitler, the perfect Aryan race leader. No. Was Hitler German?
No.
Hitler was Jewish. All 4 of his grandparents were Jews. And this is not something, even the Three Stooges told you they were Jews. If you ever watch the Three Stooges and they mock Hitler, they call him Schicklgruber. That was his Jewish name. They tell you about it. The Jews know he was a Jew. At least in the 30s, they admitted it. Now they're in denial of it. Because if a Jew killed 6 million Jews in the Holocaust, then you can't blame the Holocaust on Christians, can you? Doesn't work. Even if, from a point of documentation, the Red Cross issued 254,000 death certificates for Jews in concentration camps. That's at the request of Jewish relatives and family members. So we know for certain 254,000 were killed, okay? even a rabbi recently said the figure of 6 million is totally invented. There's no evidence whatsoever that it was 6 million. But Hitler did kill 254,000 Jews in concentration camps. But he was Jewish. But he killed 20 million Germans in the war, and they were nearly all Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And who talks about the Christian Holocaust? Oh, let's not forget the 6 million Catholic Poles he killed. No one talks about the Catholic Holocaust. Why is that? See, it's the Masonic trick of taking a word, changing its meaning, and dangling it in front of your eyes so that you follow the political trajectory the way they want it. Because if you actually were told in public school that Hitler was a Jew, what would your natural reaction would be? It wouldn't be to pay attention to the Jews who died in the Holocaust, because, well, obviously it's not our fault. It wouldn't be to feel guilty about the Holocaust, because obviously it wasn't our fault. It would be feel pity for the Germans who were exploited and all the other Christians who were killed by Hitler and his men and his henchmen. Then you'd have to say, how did a Jew get in power in Germany and end up killing Jews and Germans? You'd start asking questions like, who put him in power? And then maybe you would start talking about that secret society, Lodge 322, and tracing it back to the Brown Brothers Harriman Bank that financed it, and wonder why Americans are financing it. Or as, was it your dad the other day with a brilliant observation? Now I know why America didn't join the Second World War until late, because we were already in the war. We were financing and supporting Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
That's absolutely brilliant analysis, and the proof that that war was absolutely engineered by Freemasonry is that Germany could have never fought that war without three things necessary for a metallurgy industry to run a war effort: high-grade iron ore, chromium, and wolfram and tungsten. Now, those metals in Europe are only found in 3 countries: high-grade iron ore, that were not belligerent against Germany: Sweden. Chromium's found in Turkey, and wolfram and tungsten is found in Portugal. And all 3 of those countries remain neutral. That means Germany didn't attack them, and the Allies didn't attack them. Isn't that convenient? Any one of them, if any one of them had been attacked or invaded by the Allies. Now, why would you wage an entire war for 4 years against Nazi Germany when all you could do is just conquer little Portugal?
Mm-hmm.
Or conquer absolutely weak Turkey? Why send 1 million people to the death fighting Hitler when you could just take away his tungsten? Then his tanks would be, you could blow them up with a hand grenade. And that wasn't done. So you see how orchestrated it was, how planned it was, and how completely false it was. And so this is why, but this wouldn't have happened if America was governed in the Second World War by a Christian party, because we would have acted as Christians. We would have never allowed the funding of Nazi Germany. We would have told Portugal, which is a Catholic nation, to stop sending wolfram and tungsten to the Nazis. And we certainly would have took Turkey that. And so use your common sense now. So, as like I said to AJ in past occasions, we Christians in America have a lot to answer for before the throne of our Lord Jesus Christ. Because if we had organized a Christian party from the beginning and governed our nation by a party that recognized Jesus Christ, because even if the Constitution doesn't say Jesus Christ is our king, if it's ruled by a party that says Jesus Christ is our king, Christ will reign. Because without the Christian party, our country has been involved in so many things around the world, or American citizens at least, and so many wars that would have never had to been fought. Mm-hmm. And so many Christians overseas would not have to have died. Because if the Soviet Russia and Nazi Germany were both financed by American citizens, banks, and institutions, then before God, we have a responsibility.
Yep.
Let's not go run around the world seeking for Nazis to persecute if Brown Brothers Harriman is managing $6.5 trillion in downtown Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
and they're the ones that did it. And they were ordered, their property was ordered to be confiscated, but Roosevelt never did it because his Secretary of Commerce was,
Yeah.
his Secretary of War was Brown Brothers, Bonesman,
Yep.
member of the Skull and Bones Lodge. So this is how controlled we are. This is how manipulated we are. This is how fake the entire system is. And this is why Christians now need to rise up, rebel. We need a second revolution, but it doesn't have to be a violent one. It needs to be a political one. And it means we need to recruit people to the Christian Party of America as fast as we can and bring down this entire godless, demonic, Masonic system. Because it's just a Hegelian trick. Play two sides, give the people theater, and think they're being saved when they're just being enslaved.
Yeah. Now, we didn't really touch on it. We did a bit on Twitter yesterday about Amy Coney Barrett. She's supposedly a Catholic from Louisiana.
Yeah, now she's okay. Let's assume it is, as it's recorded in history, that she's a Catholic gal from Louisiana. Where would a Catholic gal go to college? I mean, there's lots of colleges in the countries. Where would you think she'd go?
Well, you could go to, let's see.
A Catholic college, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's like hundreds of Catholic colleges when she went to school.
Mm-hmm.
But where did she go to college?
The original name of the university in Tennessee.
Well, first say its present name, and then we'll get to the original name.
Rhodes University. R-H-O-D-E-S. University.
Okay, Rhodes. So, and it's in the state of
Tennessee.
Now, I have lived in Alabama shortly, and I did live some years in Florida. But I'm not an expert on the South. I'm not from Louisiana, but I can't see any reason why a Louisiana girl would go to Tennessee for college. I mean, it's not like it pops right up on your thing. Tennessee is a great center of learning. Let's go to Tennessee. No, I mean, you could get scholarships. If she's actually qualified to serve in the Supreme Court, she must have been very bright her whole life, and so she certainly would have gotten a scholarship from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes to Rhodes College. Now, that name Rhodes, we've heard that before, haven't we?
Yesterday's program about the Skull and Bones 322 in the group in Great Britain by Cecil Rhodes.
Yeah, Cecil Rhodes is one of the big Freemasons of South Africa and the development of South Africa. We haven't found a connection yet between Cecil Rhodes and Rhodes College. Rhodes College wasn't called Rhodes College. It was renamed in the 70s after a famous professor who built up the college, who was a professor of physics and going to, I think, Virginia University. And his name was Rhodes. But what was the original name of this college?
The Masonic University of Tennessee.
Now, isn't that just happenstance occasional? I mean, what are the odds that Donald Trump, whose father did a Masonic handshake with the Brown Brothers Harriman Bank founder, who is a lodge member, who is a bonesman, and with 11 other bonesmen founded that bank, should just happen to point at the key point in American history, a woman who went to a Masonic university. I mean, what are the odds of that? Do you think that's just happenstance?
Nope.
And she's being presented as a faithful Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out she's not a faithful Catholic, she's a heretic.
Yeah.
What's her heresy?
Well, that university for one.
Yeah, but regarding the death penalty.
She is not for it.
Yeah, so that's contrary to divine revelation. If you're against the death penalty as a principle, you're a heretic, because then you would be implying that God and all the saints involved in the sentences of capital punishment against the wicked committed a sin, and that is Masonic. Okay. The only person who would say putting a wicked person to death for his crimes is a sin would be a devil, because the devils are going to be damned in hell for their sin, and capital punishment is a way of saying to someone who's wicked, you deserve damnation, okay? Even though he could repent of it before he's executed and end up in heaven by accepting his punishment if he's a Christian. But that's the analog. So she holds a satanic and a Masonic position on capital punishment.
Yep.
So she can't possibly be in the state of grace.
No.
She's a rebel against God and an enemy of God. So, you know, and when you're told to wave your flag and cheer for her nomination, it's another trick of Skull and Bones.
Mm-hmm.
It's another trick. And over at Ordo Militaris Catholicus Twitter account, I recently tweeted about another one. Here you go, you can read it. The purpose of MK Ultra narrative is to convince you that it is hopeless to resist, to overthrow the regime. That's one of their big tricks, and you'll have a lot of Catholics that push that. But the Skull and Bones, they're really laughing this week. They're not just laughing for the appointment of Amy Barrett. They're laughing over Taylor Marshall.
Yeah.
Because Taylor Marshall wrote a book on infiltration about how the Masons are infiltrating the church. But Taylor Marshall was just named Trump's ambassador to Catholics. And he's just basking in the light. He told everyone on his Twitter account he's glad that he's now Trump's ambassador. He's going to serve the cause of Trump and get Catholics to vote Trump. But Trump is a Skull and Bones agent. So now Taylor Marshall's working for the Skull and Bones Lodge. So as I tweeted out, they're laughing all the way back into the Skull and Bones tomb at Yale.
Yep.
Because the guy who wrote a book on infiltration has now been recruited to the lodge, whether he knows it or not. I don't think he cares to know it. I think Taylor Marshall's the kind of man that he would prefer to serve in the empire of Satan than be a nobody in the kingdom of Christ. And that might be harsh words, but he's seen our programs. We shared our programs with him. He knows Trump is Skull and Bones. He knows the Republican Party is Skull and Bones. He wants you to vote for them, though. And so he's you know, that's his level of honesty. And now I know why he's opposed to any discussion that Benedict invalidly resigned, because you couldn't pull off all these scams with a real pope who spoke. You couldn't do it. You have to have a Freemason on the Apostolic See. And Bergoglio, as you can go over to fromrome.info, I and Bergoglio are Freemasons. Look for that article. Bergoglio's own head of security in Argentina said that he's a member of the Masonic Lodge. I didn't make it up. He said it on the phone. The phone conversation was recorded unbeknownst to him by the Argentine police. And that phone conversation was broadcast on national television in Argentina. All Argentina knows it. And I post a video where they talk about how everyone knows it in Argentina. So if you insist Bergoglio is the Pope, it's like voting Trump. You're supporting Freemasons.
Yep.
And your loyalty, this is what the Masons do, they've taken your loyalty to Jesus Christ and they've redirected it to the lodge. That's completely satanic.
So only way to save America, to restore America, to truly make America great again, is the Catholic Party.
Catholic Party for America. .wordpress.org. And soon the party will be founded and have its own websites. But
yeah,
if you listen to our programs, you need to join the party. And it's not just a I like your program kind of reaction. You need to come to christianpartyforamerica.wordpress.com.
Yep.
Go to the join page and fill out the information, because we need to build organization of a party around the country. And wherever you are is a place and time for founding the Christian Party for America. And this is just as important as anything else you might be doing, but it's more important actually globally, because remember our Lord said, don't build on sand. The Masonic Lodge is sand. It's of the devil. It will not endure. It will be wiped away, and it will destroy itself and the country. You might say it's infected sand. nothing you do in your life, no job you get, no house you build, no children you have, nothing you do for your grandparents will matter in the end if they've all been enslaved and vaccinated in a Masonic, godless, demonic tyranny. And because you wouldn't join the Christian Party of America and bring them down. So this is a duty before God for every Christian and God-fearing person in America. It's not just an option, you know, it's a duty before God. And Christian Party of America is not just a party that's opposed to the lodge, it's a party that pledges to destroy it, because it has to be. It's either a cancer or it's a good, healthy body. Can't have one or the other. The cancer has to be destroyed.
Yep. So go to christianpartyforamerica.wordpress.com, and now the contact form is on its own page. Join the party. It's quite easy to join the party. Follow what we ask you to send in that contact form. It's basically a resume.
A very brief kind of one.
Yeah.
And that link for join the party is in the top menu, right? You'll see the words join the party. And anyone can join, just like any American citizen can join a party. And so and consider also being a supporter, because the founding of the party is going to cost money. There's a lot of things we do. We have to do copyright things. We have to trademark things. We have to reserve domain names. And we have to start building up state organizations, and that require hiring attorneys and accountants, and because we have to follow legal laws and regulations. So any of you who can, please offer to do so when you do the contact, because once the party is founded, we'll be able to, the party will be able to take donations. So a clarification, the Christian Party of America has nothing to do with Ordo Militaris Radio or Ordo Militaris Inc. Or not the same organizations. It's just a political organization for Catholics, and if you're a supporter of one, you don't have to be the supporter of the other. Okay, but it will be organized so Masons cannot infiltrate it, and having studied their tactics, it's easy to avoid that. So we encourage you to be zealous in your support, and a lot of Catholics who aren't so interested in maybe Christians are persecuted around the world, or the messages we put out on information on Ordo Militaris, nevertheless are very interested in saving their country, and we're getting strong support. So please do respond. Just don't think of it as a possibility, okay?
Yeah.
And because no matter who you vote for in November, it's not going to change anything. You're still giving power to the Freemasons, and that's what you need to realize. You need to wake up and realize that. I mean, over at Militaris Catholic on our Twitter account, I tried to do some tweets to wake people up. Just ask simple questions to help, you know, red pill people. Like, how can Trump save America if he's going to appoint someone who went to a Masonic university to sit on the Supreme Court who doesn't even believe in capital punishment? Capital punishment is one of the most sane things. You get rid of all the wicked and their children and their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, their great-great-great-grandchildren, because you put them to death.
Yeah.
And because the just should inherit the earth. I mean, Christ himself said the poor shall inherit the earth. So letting the wicked inherit the earth is just not just, okay? And don't think that George Soros is the enemy of Bush. He invested enemy of Trump. He invested 140 million in Trump's Chicago hotel. He gave Trump's son-in-law $250 million line of credit, and he invested $30 million to defeat Trump's rival, Ted Cruz. So he's put $420 million into Donald Trump. And you think he's Trump's enemy? You think all those riots and burning the Democratic cities down are to hurt Trump? I think you should think of that. People can see it. Here's Mel Faith One. She goes, listen to this guy. These riots are helping Trump win bigly, because they're doing the thesis antithesis. They're funding these most radical leftist Democrats who are just absurd, And in reaction, you're going to vote Trump because they want that knee-jerk reaction because they really want you to vote Trump, okay? They know Biden doesn't have a chance in hell of winning. They know it. But they want to make sure that Trump's win because Trump is their man. He's more their man than Biden. Biden might belong to a different lodge, and that's the only reason why they're fighting. I'm not saying Biden is a bad way in any way. But I asked some questions in public, and I think a fair number of pro-Trump Catholics just couldn't take it. They couldn't even take the questions, and I'm going to read them out loud because people have to know. You can start thinking about what it means to be Catholic in politics, and then you realize how wonderful it is. Catholics everywhere must fight against the scamdemic, the New World Order, and the Masonic fraud by founding Catholic political parties to end abortion, not just reduce it, end it. To free their nations from the Masonic Lodge, because if your party is not organized to free your nation from Masonic Lodge, your party is not organized to liberate you. And to end the errors of the French Revolution, liberalism, and Marxism, not just tolerate them, end them. And ask yourself some simple questions. I'm going to put some simple questions here now, help you understand this. Excuse me a moment, I dig them up. Which mentality is Catholic? I'll quote you two things that a Catholic might say. I vote for someone who wants to allow abortion and hopes to eliminate it someday by appointing judges who someday will overturn Roe v. Wade. Okay, so that's the first mentality. The second mentality, I vote for someone who will shut down all clinics and imprison all abortionists. Now, which mentality is Catholic? It's obviously number two. And a lot of Catholics saw this and they say, but there's no option two. Yeah, that's because you need to form the Christian Party for America. You need to join it, and so we have candidates because that's the true Catholic option. Or here's another one. Which attitude is Catholic? To vote for a party run by Freemasons, some of which members may be Catholic or Protestants, but none of which oppose the Masonic principles of the party? Or to vote for a party run by Catholics who seek to destroy the lodge and arrest its members? Which of those two attitudes is Catholics? It's obviously the second one, but you can only do it if you have a Christian Party for America. Who is more pro-life? One who accepts that Roe versus Wade is the law of the land but hopes to overturn it someday? Or two, one who recognizes that Roe versus Wade is no law of the land but a monstrosity posing as a legality? Number two is obviously the Catholic position. We don't recognize Roe versus Wade has any authority in the land. And if you meet a Catholic who thinks, they're just either stupid or uninformed or they've been hoodwinked, because an unjust law, as St. Thomas says, is no law. If you're a police officer and you enforce an abortion clinic's right to run a business, you are sinning against the faith. You're committing a mortal sin because you're recognizing a law that doesn't exist as if it existed, and that's demonic. Okay, and those ask questions like that, and you'll start unpacking the lies. Okay. Of what they've done with the propaganda to get you to turn your loyalty over to them and steal it for the devil. And this is what a Christian party frees you from if you form it and join it and spread it, because this is true liberty. Because what does Christ says? The truth shall set you free. And he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So if you have no freedom without Christ, how can you have liberty in a country without a Christian party? Not and by Christian party, I don't mean a party that puts Christian on its lapel and is not Christian, like Nancy Pelosi claims to be Catholic and is really a demon and a witch. I mean, they really are loyal to Christ and they really promote the causes of Christ. So, yeah. This is essential for the salvation of our country, and therefore it should occupy all our time. And I'm going to talk to those of you who really love your country and who really love Jesus Christ. What you should be doing, you should drop all your optional activities. Okay, you still have your work and you still have your family. You can't drop that. But drop all those useless things like bridge games and 4-H clubs and any kind of social activity you do. Drop it all and promote the Christian Party for America. Start a chapter in your town, in your county, in your state. Spend all your time talking to people about it. If you have some spare cash, print up leaflets, bumper stickers, flyers, postcards, whatever. Spread the information around. ChristianPartyForAmerica.wordpress.com. You could just hand out that URL and tell people, you know, only thing you can save America now is a Christian party. I think everyone realizes that. They just don't have an option. So you're giving them liberty. Just put it in their hand and say, here's the way for true liberty in America and how to save America from the disaster we're currently in. And that's all you need to do. And spread the word 24/7. And as I say, if you can convince everyone you know to join the party, all the Christians you know, and convince them to do the same, that is to convince all the Christians they know, in a month's time, we could recruit 65 million people to the party because it will go up exponentially. We'll just go, just take what's 200 times 200 times 200 times 200 times 200. You do that 5 times and you're already most of the country. So we don't need a lot of money. We need some activity. We don't need couch potatoes. You know, we don't need video game players, and we don't need social media addicts, because I can tell you this, you'll never get the message out on social media. We see it all the time. We post a video on YouTube, it will get like 2 retweets. If I post it on WordPress, I get 200. So how is it that there are 100 times more people on YouTube that are looking at it, but not on Twitter? Because Twitter's hiding it. Twitter doesn't allow it. You think you're doing all that time on Twitter and getting your message out? Twitter has the controls ratcheted up so no one sees your message, because they don't want your message as a Christian to go out. They only want their godless message to go on. So don't waste your time on social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Even WordPress, yeah, okay, so maybe 2,000 people see an article. But if I went out in the street, I have 20,000 people if I just told everyone, okay? So some of us have to do media apostolate, that's what we're involved in. But you don't have to do a media apostolate. Now that you have the message on Christian Party, you don't have to watch any talking head anymore. You don't have to watch Steve Skojak. You don't have to watch Bishop Barron. You don't have to watch Taylor Marshall. You don't have to watch Matt at the Remnant. You don't have to watch any YouTube channel or any television channel. Go out and spread the party. And if just a few of you are that zealous, we'll have a huge party organization, at least by the spring of next year, and start going for all the political offices in your town in the next election, all the county officers in your county, and all the state officials in your states. If we win the states by the midterms, then we'll take back the Congress and we can start doing someone no matter who is elected president, okay? Because if Christians run both houses of Congress, they can impeach the president and put a Christian in power. And that's what needs to be done. And we should have no shame about that, because we cannot tolerate that Masons run our country. We cannot tolerate that our votes are robbed by Masonic parties for their interest. And it's not our assertion, it's a historic fact that the Masons control both parties. So why vote for their parties when we can vote ours? I mean, we're Christians. Don't we have the same right to start a party as them, AJ?
According to them, no. But according to the Christian principle, yeah.
Actually, according to the Christian faith, we're the only ones that have the right?
Yeah.
According to St. Thomas, we Christians have the divine right to rule over the nations, because it's Christ who has all authority in heaven and earth, and as members of his body, the church, we have the divine right to govern the nations. We are failing in our duty to Christ if we do not conquer the Masons and subdue them to the law of Christ. We are failing, okay? Because they are godless people, they need to be taught godlessness, okay? If not by their own faith, by law that restrains them from their wickedness. And that's what I mean by conquering them. So I don't mean arresting them or shooting them, or, well, some of them need to be arrested, but I don't mean war, okay?
Yeah.
But if we don't do this, they're going to exterminate us, like the Protestant minister Hughes, A.A. Hughes, said 150 years ago. Not our words, Presbyterian minister.
Yep. So, we need members who are active. I mean, those who can get outside, drive around, who are in towns, who can just get up, go outside the door and walk down the street into the local barber shop, diners, cafes, restaurants.
Knock on the doors of the houses, put things in mailboxes. Mm-hmm.
because I don't travel too well and stuff. So, like I said, I keep saying I need folks to join for the Kansas deal all over Kansas to help me.
Yeah, AJ, if you don't know, AJ is homebound. He suffered medical malpractice, and on top of it, he suffers from a mild form of autism. So he's doing extraordinary things for someone in his condition. I'm a monk. I happen to be in Rome now for organizing a Catholic party in Italy, so I have my hands done, even though I am also a U.S. citizen because I have double citizenship. But it's for you, God-fearing, God-loving, American-loving listeners of this program. The future of the nation now depends on you to share this program, and all you who hear this program to go out and now recruit members, okay? Because they say, well, what's your platform? Our platform is the Gospels, okay? And you come to Christian Party America and you'll see some of AJ's thoughts on how different Christian politics is from Masonic politics. And every Tuesday on Ordo Militaris Radio TV, we talk about Christian Party for America and its platforms. And today, as unusual, we didn't talk about platforms. We talked something about the history and the struggle. And because it's important to recruit, okay? Political parties platform, there's three things important to party. Its name, so people understand what it is. Its political platform, that's easy for us as the Christian faith. But recruiting, the first two don't do anything. The first two, it just remains an idea in the clouds. It's the recruiting that makes it real, that incarnates it. So we Christians, we believe in the incarnation. We have to now incarnate the party, and that will be taking America. Because every person that you convince to join the party is one less person whose vote is not being robbed by the Masonic order. It's taking America back. You are literally taking America back for Jesus Christ when you recruit someone to the Christian party, because you're transferring their loyalty from the satanic and demonic order back to the Christian order. And God, Jesus Christ, will smile on you and bless you for every single person that you can convince, okay? Because you're showing him the highest respect as King of Kings and Lord of Lords, not just in spiritual, not just inside your private room where you pray or your church, but now over all society. And he'll bless you and your family in ways that are unimaginable, because no one is more generous than Jesus Christ. And he sees all and he knows all. So he knows what you're doing for him. Yep. And he will repay you in this world and in the world to come.
Yep. It would be awesome to have, I don't know, however many we can have on Zoom, just have rooms full of people.
I think we can currently handle 150 people at a time in a meeting on Zoom.
So if we had 150 locations and all of them filled,
150 different locations, yeah. I think their server might come down, but you can also do, as some people are doing, is they're gathering together in a room and having a meeting with us all at the same time. So that's another way of doing it. And so if people want to know more about it, but I'll emphasize this. We want to talk to the active leaders, okay? The others can come in and say hello like in a beginning meeting, but it's what the meetings that we're having during the week or they're willing to having with you is for people who are going to actively and go out there. If we see that, yeah, you're isolated, you're all by yourself, and you haven't the ability to recruit anyone, we'll grant you that one meeting and say hello to you. But we can't give you a weekly meeting. They just won't have the time. We have to give it to the people who are recruiting 250, 1,000 every week, or people starting state organizations. So if you want to start a local chapter, make that known when you sign up. I'm going to go for it and start a chapter in my town, you know, let's say Madison, Wisconsin, whatever. And that I want to be that guy who brings the party to life in my town. Say so we can understand where you're coming from and where you're going to. If you don't want to tell us your last name or who you really are, then don't contact us, okay? Because we're a political party, we're not a secret organization. We need to know who you are, okay? That's just essential. If you still don't have that confidence, then keep watching our program until you have that confidence, okay? You can still recruit for the party, but you have to tell us who you are, obviously, because that's from the point of legal purposes, we need to know who we're talking with and things of that sign. So, but the leaders can get the information from us and then pass it off to the members so that we don't have to answer the same question 1,000 times every week. Of course, we're only human. So but be active. If you've never been politically active before, this is the time to act. This is the moment in American history that we either rise up and save America, or America goes to hell in a handbasket and she'll never come back, because the Christians will be exterminated. The practicing Christians in America is still 120 million. Most of us are not active politically. If we just get active, we could easily defeat both parties, both. And you'll see that if Christian Party gets strong, both parties will join against us, because they're really one party. It's really Masonic. That's what it is. So join, be active. This is a holy crusade. Go out there wear that cross around your neck, be proud, put your faith in public, and serve Christ the King. This is the way to do it. And I will just point out one thing. We've often talked about real monarchism, fake monarchism, real this, real that. The leaders of the Catholic public movements on social media have known for 2 weeks about the Christian Party of America. They all know what it is. They've all had a chance to say, let me know something more about it. They are all talking about the social reign of Jesus Christ. We have to work for the social reign of Jesus Christ. Well, how would you have the social reign of Jesus Christ without a Christian party? You obviously wouldn't, and we obviously don't. So what has been their response, AJ?
Silence.
So are they really interested in the social reign of Jesus Christ?
No.
No, obviously not. They're interested maybe in raising money for themselves and waving that little Catholic, it's like, I'll wave this statue, give money to me because that shows I'm devoted to Our Lady, but I really don't even believe in the virginity of Our Lady, and I never want anyone to consecrate herself to her. I'd be just a complete frake, right? I'm a Franciscan. I wear the miraculous medal because I promote devotion to Our Lady and encourage people to consecrate it to her. If I didn't do that, it would be hypocrisy that I wear this. And a lot of Christians, even Catholics, who criticize Nancy Pelosi or Biden 24/7, they're hypocrites because they say they want the social reign of Christ, but they won't even support a Christian party. They want you to vote for the Skull and Bones party, the Republicans. They want you to vote for the Antichrist party. So I just want to make that comment in the end. We need to be truly for this kingship of Jesus Christ, and we can't do that unless we are truly active members of a Christian party that wants to declare Christ the King and reform the laws of the nation according to his teaching and destroy the enemies of Christ, the Masonic Lodge. Otherwise, it's hot air and we'll go to hell for being hypocrites.
Yep. So go to christianpartyforamerica.wordpress.com. Now it's Christian Party FOR America.wordpress.com. There you can meet, and oh yes, of course, we have patron saints. You can watch the videos on them. And
all the programs we do about Christian politics, AJ posts there. And on the page for this show, you'll be able to download that book about the effort in the 1870s by the Presbyterians to name Jesus Christ in the Constitution.
So go to christianpartyforamerica.wordpress.com. You can see the videos on the different, the last three or four videos we did on this topic, and also see our platform and policy ideas. And you can then go to the join the party page, and it's simple. It's just tells you, it's asking you for information so we know more about you. And it's a simple resume. Then when you have your first meeting, we'll get the larger resume.
And if you want to make a comment using about the platform, go ahead and do it. Don't fall into Phariseeism. It's like you read everything and 99% you like, 1% you don't, and you say, well, I'm not going to vote Christian Party because that 1% I disagree with them. I'll vote the Masonic Party who disagrees with me 99%. And we've had some of those reactions because people are just so, use an Italian hand sign, which I think you understand means. So don't be that. Don't be a Pharisee. Okay. And we do accept criticism. So if you see something wrong, you write AJ about in the platform, and we'll correct it if it needs correcting.
Yep. So please like and share this program. Links will be in the description and the pinned comment below for the show page. And again, please share this video on social media, off social media, by email, if you are able to, and you're not doing much because of the COVID scamdemic. Knock over on your friend's door and like, you need to watch this program.
And I'll add, for those of our listeners who are not in the United States, there's nothing preventing you from starting a Christian party in your own country, okay? Because the Masonic lodges everywhere, you need a Christian party everywhere. And so be just as zealous. This is not something that only Americans can do, okay? So as I said, I'm doing it in Italy with a group of Catholics. You can do it in your country. So, if you'd like to still talk to us and get some pointers on how to do it in your country, as much as we can give you advice about that, I don't know. Yeah, use the same contact form, okay? Because we need a worldwide holy crusade for Christ.
And thank you to I'm not sure if we call him a member since he's from Malta, but he's like this. So
yeah, so
Whoa.
Start a Christian party in Malta. Power to you. And thank you for that wonderful comment from South Carolina. Who said that our shows are like punches in the gut, but they wake you up. And we hope that's what the effect. And our contacts in Louisiana saying sharing these programs are what helping people to open their eyes. So use them as, don't be the only way of spreading the party. Use them as ammunition when you need to, because most people are simple Christians. Just give them the URL and that will convince them. Okay.
So this is Ordo Militaris Radio TV signing off. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.